All right, let's do this. Good morning. It's time for Trends in the Papers on 98.3 Mainland FM. And yes, a whole lot surprising stuff happened yesterday, on the political scene. It's been quite an interesting ride so far, but you all know what I am talking about. Yes, good morning. Trends in the Papers, we go through the front pages of our dailies. We have our papers here with us: The Nation, The Punch, Vanguard, and of course the Guardian newspaper. Okay, and my name is Omobola Sandra. We'll be doing this all the way till 8:30, and then by 8:40 we'll come back again and meet for Milan Focus. So we're going to be looking at two focal points this morning, but I'll introduce the focus when we get to that bridge. We'll cross it. Okay, all right. And joining me via the phone line will be Fuhad Sahid as we dig deeper and try to flesh some of our stories out from the front pages of our dailies. I trust we all had an amazing night's rest, and we are looking forward to a merry, merry, merry Christmas and a wonderful, jolly-filled Christmas. Okay, so let's get straight to it. But before then, good morning, Fuad.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. All right, so let's get into it. I'll start with the Guardian newspaper, and the major headline: the riders reject new notes. Bank of England. I like how they put that particular story up against this particular story, because that's I read that this morning and I felt that this could actually make a lot of sense if it was something that what we would also do, rather than just saying that from January 30th we're not going to be the old notes would no longer be legal tender. Why not phase them out, stop reprinting? I don't know, what do you think? Because now there are a lot of there are a lot of fears as regards this particular note. Some people, a lot of vendors and market people are rejecting the new notes because I don't think the orientation is really out there. Information is not really out in Nigeria, so a lot of people I still haven't seen it. Yeah, but that shows how how very stringent it is, or how very scarce it is. Yes, in circulation. Yes. So there's been a lot of fear and concerns about it. From Lagos to Rivers or Oyo to Borno, the narrative is still the same. There are many states that are yet to receive a reasonable share of the currency, and as it is now, some ATMs are still in fact, major ATMs, most ATMs, yes. Most ATMs are still dispensing the old notes. So there are reports also of fake notes also being in circulation.
As expected, yeah.
Yes, that's a very scary one, because it's very limited. All right, so we can't really know, and a lot of people want to get their hands on it. And I don't know if you saw the picture of the woman who was selling the new notes at a party where she had bundles and bundles of it.
Use them for manner of things, because you change. And the fact that they said, look, the old notes will still, the CBN policy may be wrong, or maybe done too hurriedly. But the fact is, the UK doesn't have the issue of banditry where people are demanding for ransom in cash. They don't have the situation where people buy votes with money. We are in election here, so their own peculiarities are different. They are not battling with all of the issues we are battling with as far as our cash or currency is concerned.
Okay.
Their own level of inflation is not even the same as ours. So we have our own issues, and I suspect that the CBN had come up with this policy first to redesign the naira to cool people who have cash stacked. We printed over 3 trillion naira, different peculiarity. So adopting their own hurriedly, maybe this would have been done much earlier in the year, or maybe sometime last year, so that people are well prepared and informed. Just today, I think in the papers, one of the papers will have the story that the CBN just released what they can call features of the new note to fight counterfeiting. Those are things that should have been done before, so that people are well informed. We talked about even the sensitization, that there's not enough publicity, especially in the rural areas, about the new note. So you may still see situations where people would not even collect it because they are not sure of the new note. So like I said the last time, Sandra, I suspect that eventually the CBN, well, they can't stop the redesign of the new notes. We have new notes now. People would have to eventually cope with it. But I suspect that on the withdrawal limit, they may eventually have to suspend or cave in on it.
Well, as it is, there's a lot of complaints from customers, working customers at the bank. Some are saying that the amounts. Well, okay. Let me start with one. Some are complaining that the texture of the money looks inferior to the old one. That those are the complaints that some people are having. So they would prefer to actually even have the old notes. Yes, they'll prefer to have the old note. Some are saying that some of these notes, instead of paying them out to us or to the public, some banks are diverting to BDC operators, politicians, and money hawkers.
I just said it.
Yeah, as it is now. So it's an issue. It's an issue, as a lot of people are saying that we would rather have the old notes, because talking about texture, it seems more durable than the new one that's that's coming out now. There's another development. Senator of Sokoto State, Senator Wamako, has joined Nigerians in criticizing Emefiele over redesign of Naira notes and the controversial cash withdrawal limit set by CBN. And he described the twin policies as unnecessary, diversionary, controversial, and designed to plunge Northerners into deeper misery.
How?
Okay.
How is the North different from the South in as far as this policy is concerned? I don't know. What are the peculiarities of the North that makes this policy, negative?
Worse for the Northerners than the Southerners.
I don't know.
Well, as it is now, he's saying a whole lot, but we can't really get it. He's saying that, or for example, he said the policy, which he said potentially aims to cripple northern entrepreneurs who are generally micro and medium industry investors that normally transact and deal with cash payments.
And the Senator Wamako is very, very proud to say that. He's so proud to say that, the North are generally small-scale entrepreneurs who still deal in cash in this 21st century. He's so happy with the situation of the North that they are not even compliant, they are not looking at new innovations. Is that what he's so happy to talk about as the reason why this policy is negative for the North?
Going further to say that, inadequate banking system, inadequate bank presence and acceptance in the North, compared to the fact that in southern Nigeria there are several banks everywhere, but there are few banks to service the large population of the North, especially those living in rural areas, with very few microfinance banks, and this will just make things difficult. And also the fact that there's also non-functioning internet connectivity in many communities. Basically he's saying that, oh no, we're not doing what we should do, therefore people are suffering, don't make it any worse.
Yeah, they've made the situation like that. No, the governor of the state.
Because
the
if there's security, if the North is well secured, banks will be opened over there.
Well secured with the right infrastructure, with power infrastructure, with good roads. The banks will go there.
Yeah.
But it's because they've impoverished their people. All the years there's no good infrastructure. A lot of the areas don't even have power facility, or they are not even connected to the public grid. So, and it's quick to come and say that as the reason why this is going to be impoverished. No, they actually have impoverished their own people by not giving the necessary facilities, by not developing that region so as much to have access to all of these facilities that we have in the South. But again, it means that they would have to drag us backwards because of the lack of facilities in that area. And that was the question about the country. That look, why do we have that disparity? Remember, Sandra, just this last week, there was the news about it's going to take 40 years for the North to catch up with the level of development in the South. And that's what he's ventilating now. But who do we blame for that? If not the politicians in the North, they are rulers and leaders in the North. But again, like I said, these guys are eventually going to put pressure on the CBN, and I'm sure this policy will be reversed. It's already looking like that.
All right. Well, more details on pages 6 and 29 of the Guardian newspaper. Let's keep moving on. We also have here, brace for flight delays, cancellations, airlines warn travelers. Okay, so that is on page 15. And basically what our report is telling us this morning All right. Basically, what that report is telling us this morning is that airline operators yesterday have warned the traveling public or travelers to prepare for imminent flight delays and cancellations over a fresh bout of aviation fuel scarcity.
Well, for people that, I don't know. For travelers, this is the yield tide. Honestly, a lot to battle with, a lot to deal with. Hello?
Yes, I'm with you.
Again, because this is sounding a note of warning for them to probably just getting them ready for our travel fares. Because again, a lot of people don't even want to travel using the road.
Yeah. Yes.
So for those that are looking at the alternatives of flying and all of that, it means they'll have to pay more if there's scarcity of aviation fuel. Probably pay double. And you ask yourself, why is it at this period where they know there's going to be a lot of people traveling using flights and all of that we're going to have this? And what's the explanation for the scarcity now? Expected scarcity.
Well, there's a twist to it though, because a fuel marketer denied the scarcity of the product at major airports, especially Lagos, saying, and I'm quoting now, "I can assure you that there is fuel for airlines that are ready to pay for it. The old practice that airlines have been used to is to rack up credit bills on fuel and pay when it is convenient for them. But that is changing. Marketers are supplying to only airlines that are willing to pay immediately. Let the airlines leverage more on their relationship with their marketers and everyone will be fine." So that is on the side of the marketer. So it's not as if the fuel is not available, but the marketers
sell on credit.
They're not ready to sell on credit. That's basically what they're saying. So airline operator or airlines, airline operators who have the funds, who have the money, would then have to pay for it in advance, and that means that operation costs, hike in airfare and all of that, just to ensure that they keep up with operations. But aside from that, we also have the fact that the Harmattan haze is also expected to disrupt operations right now. So that's another thing that's probably going to be causing some delays, flight delays and cancellations nationwide. So that is the report that we have this morning as regards aviation fuel and airline operators. Okay, so that more details of that on page 15 of The Guardian. Federal government to stop excess cash withdrawal from public accounts, says NFIU. Okay, and that is on page 3. And what we have is that the federal government has said it was putting measures in place to stop excess cash withdrawals from federal, state and council accounts. So the DG of NFIU, that's Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, gave the hint, that's Modibo Haman Tukur, at a parley with INEC. So because of the consistent devaluation of the Naira and introduction of a new Naira policy, Section 1 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act is automatically activated. So we're seeing how that is going to play out. So this makes it's actually a lot if you look at it. But then what they are saying is that most cash withdrawals from government accounts, which includes payments for ESTA codes, where often in excess of limits it actually exceeds the limit that is the standard. So this means that a lot of public servants, innocent public servants, may be liable to imprisonment.
What do they do with cash really? I don't know. So this is about still cash withdrawals, huh?
Yes. Well, but they're saying now that the NFI has already developed an advisory to the SGF, that's the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, to all governors, all council chairmen, to direct their public servants to open domiciliary and NARA accounts. Yes, ahead of the commencement of the policy. So that is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, we also have Ondo council workers threatened to boycott 2023 elections over autonomy. All right, this is an interesting one. Different from what we have in some other papers. But let's see what we have here. It's on page 5. So branch have vowed to boycott the 2023 general elections in the state over alleged ploy by lawmakers to vote against local council
autonomy.
Yes, autonomy. As it is now, they have been going about chanting no autonomy, no election in Ondo State in 2023. But why would why would the State Assembly not be in support or will be voting against local government autonomy?
The State Assembly guys, they are working with who?
The state governor.
So that answers that question. You know, you know that it's still part of what we revealed recently. That the reason why some of these constitutional amendments is not seeing the light of the day is because the state assemblies are not doing what they are supposed to do. And one of the issues that are supposed to be captured in the constitutional amendment is local government autonomy. So if the governors don't want local government autonomy, of course they are unfortunately the state assemblies are supposed to be independent. They're supposed to also take their decisions without strong influence from the governor. But unfortunately that's not the situation here. So you have a situation where even at the state assembly level, the governor's level, nobody wants local government autonomy. So when we talk about devolution of power, when we talk about restructuring, when we talk about true federalism, you can see that we only pick and choose what is convenient for us. I'm talking about the politicians now. They will tell you that, we should devolve power. We should give more power to the state. We should do this and all of that. But the same governors who are shouting that, we should bring more power to the state, devolve more power to the local level, are still the ones who don't want local government autonomy. And the reason is simple. They want to be in charge of the funds of the local government. Simple as ABC. They are not even interested in local development. They are not interested in rural development. It's just the money. Simple as ABC.
So, well, meanwhile, addressing these protesting workers, we have the deputy minority leader of Ondo Assembly saying that there was no iota of truth in the allegation that the assembly was under any pressure to reject the council autonomy. However, he is going to submit their letter to the speaker and things will be looked into. More details on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. We will be digging deeper into that much later on. We also have here, halt official sabotage of 2023 general elections. And that's coming from, we have here is that in the last 4 years, looking at the last 4 years, attacks on INEC facilities, security of he's saying that there is elections, yes. So it's cause for concern. Yes, the Naira policy, the money policy that was just released, the two policies that were just released by the CBN, also in one way or the other, just trying to see if the timing was right or not. So he's saying that heads of security agencies should warn the governors and other top officials to desist from disrupting the democratic process. So that's basically his concern as regards the 2023 elections. So
he's already saying what we know and what we have been saying, and that there's some level of sabotage that was saying. Because why would anybody want to attack INEC if not to sabotage? There's nothing INEC does other than conducting elections. So if you attack INEC, it's just about attacking or not wanting us to hold elections, as simple as ABC. And then we ask ourselves, what will be the intention? What do you want to achieve with us not holding elections? Are they just anarchists or people who just want us to have a smooth transition? To what end, really?
I'll ask that question. Why would anybody just wake up and decide to burn INEC office?
Well, like I said, of course, the police have said that for that of Imo State and the Southeast, they've been pointing fingers mostly to IPOB and ESN because of probably the continued detention and, of Nnamdi Kanu. The governor himself is saying that there are some politicians who are involved with some of these things. They just want to make the state ungovernable. Or if we look at those two scenarios, I would say, okay, want to go with the police, like this IPOB and ESN, and then want to go with Governor Uzodinma, I would say there are some politicians who want to make the state ungovernable. So how do we explain the one of Abeokuta and Osun State? Who are the ones who have decided to attack INEC facilities in those states and then in some other parts of the country too? So I think we just have a situation where the sabotage is a national thing. It's not just limited to the Southeast. There are people who just don't want us to have a smooth transition in 2023, and the government needs to wake up.
That's what the letter is all about. Well, more details on page 25. We also have here ACF mourns elder statesman Malami that's ACF Arewa Consultative Forum, has expressed shock and grief over the demise of the chairman of its board of trustees, who passed on in Cairo in Egypt while battling an ailment, the person of Ambassador Shehu Malami. All right, that's on page 28 of The Guardian. And finally, from The Guardian newspaper, Okukwe steps down as campaign DG. I'm not demoralized, Peter Obi affirms. And that's on page 6. So the letter circulated yesterday after the judgment on Monday. And what the letter said is that, he has some personal travails that he needs to, attend to. And, he doesn't want anything that would, discolor the Labour Party's, progress as they advance towards the campaign. So he has asked the presidential candidate to excuse him of his duties.
Well, we received the letter yesterday, Sandra. I'm sure you saw it too.
Yes.
And I think that was just the right thing for him to do. There was no way you would have. I think Peter Obi would not even be happy to have. It's not about being happy now. It's just not right for him to have his campaign DG as an ex-convict. The ruling on Monday, whether we like it or not, even though he had to pay some fines and all of that and had to go home, but the fact is that he's still an ex-convict until when maybe somebody pardons him, the president pardons him. So, and to be wrong for a Peter Obi who he has a trajectory, who has that mantra of being somebody with good fiscal, being very prudent with public funds and all of that, to now have a campaign DG that I was convicted because he stole public funds.
On money laundering charges,
charges and all of that. So that's just the right thing for the way to do. But it brings up the conversation too about political parties, about politicians having people working for them or getting appointments or even getting tickets from the party while they are standing trial for corruption or other cases. We've discussed it before. Why do you allow people to contest?
What's the purpose of screening?
Screening. Why do you give your ticket to people who are standing trial for corruption?
I've filled forms where they will ask you, are you an ex-convict? Are you under any investigation? Are you under any investigation? I mean, I have filled forms that have that. So, what if Donyo Kukwe was a presidential candidate or a gubernatorial candidate and not just a DG, and then this happens?
Is it not in Kogi State or one of these states that one of the YPP gubernatorial candidates?
YPP, yes.
Yeah, and so and he holds the ticket too, and he has been sentenced.
So they've lost that one.
Convicted, that's right.
So they've lost that seat.
The ticket is wasted, obviously.
The ticket is wasted.
Although I think he has appealed the judgment, but it still goes to show that look, these things need to be checked. Why do you have to give your ticket or even allow somebody, when they are standing investigation or standing trial for corruption and all of these things? So why would, for example, people said it yesterday, one of our callers said it that, well, he would blame the Labour Party. Why would they choose a DG who was standing trial for corruption?
And this is not a trial that started this year or last year or 2 years ago. This is something that has been on.
They appointed him as DG of the campaign
way before. So it can't. There's no excuse of saying, "Oh, we thought or we didn't know or anything." But more details of that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And finally, from Guardian, Ekweremadu to spend Christmas behind bars. Very unfortunate. His bail was denied. Yes, and that's on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. So unfortunate. All right, let's quickly go through The Nation. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on 98.3 Mainland FM. And now on the front page of The Nation, we have here the major headline: Tinubu unveils funding plan for infrastructure revolution. And, the writers to that, it's possible to build in difficult times. North Christian Forum endorses Tinubu Shetima. Cross River APC crisis resolved. And that is on page 4 of The Nation newspaper. All right, moving on now, we also have here CBN releases security features of new Naira notes. All right, and what we have is that in a display, they marked out the security features and peculiarities that distinctively differentiate the new Naira notes and make them invaluable to counterfeiting. So there are at least 23 features on the 1,000 Naira note, 15 security features on the 500 Naira note, 10 features on the 200 naira note. You can get all of the details of these features on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. All right. We also have here Governor's OK plan to sell off 5 power plants.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Governor's OK plan to sell off 5 power plants. The writer to that is federal government eyes 260 billion naira from sale of Geregu, Jakarta, and others. So the 36 the stage is set for the sale of 5 power plants. That's coming from the DG Bureau of Public Enterprises, and this is following an agreement that was reached by the federal and the 36 governors on the proposed plan to sell off 5 national integrated power projects. And the expected 260 billion naira proceeds will go into next year's fiscal plan. That's what they're saying.
Well, there are 2 things. We want to sell because we need money to finance our budget next year. So 260 billion naira. But the other issue is, who are we selling these assets to? What will be their level of investment? It's not just to sell. We've sold things in the past without any results. The things have even been worse off. So who are we selling these power plants to? Are they people really who are willing to invest in those things? Not just buy them for buying sake, and at the end of the day they lament that, they can't cope with it. Remember, we are now planning to even resell some of the discos that we sold.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem selling these things. Since we don't have money, we need money. Well, we have to continue to sell our assets. That's the reality of Nigeria at this time. But the worry for me is that, yes, this money will go into financing next year's budget. We need to now ask ourselves, after next year's budget, the year after, we'll continue to sell things to. The year after, we'll sell things to. So I think we should be ready to sell our national assets, no problem. But the issue on the power plant is this: who are we selling them to? The Nigerians and I think the process should be transparent. Let's know the guys that are buying these things. Let's know their track record. Do they understand what it takes to run a power plant profitably? So that we don't want the lamentations and non-performing reality of Nigeria now. We have to continue to sell some of these assets to raise money to finance our budget, and I think we'll continue to sell. Because here as a country, we've run things aground, and that's the reality of
it. In the Nation newspaper, right, and Ogun. All right, and that is on page 3. So what we have...
We're already in Japan.
Yes, so we have left China.
We don't come out for China.
We have
okay,
left,
we're not in Japan.
We are not in Japan,
okay.
Yeah. So
we'll reach Indonesia.
We'll get to Korea too. But what we have is that the Japanese ambassador to Nigeria, Matsunaga Kazuyoshi, has signed exchange of notes with the federal government for the Lagos and Ogun Power Transmission System Improvement Project to enhance the transmission grid wheeling capacity. So the Minister of Finance signed on behalf of the federal government. That's Zainab Ahmed. You can get all of the details on page 3, and whether this would be a good one or will still
but
be...
if we are borrowing to improve power, to improve the power sector, to improve power supply, it's fine. But just that it's good. We have to know why we are borrowing, and if it's about the power sector and it's going to help with more efficient power supply, I think it's a good one. But what else would we have done? We don't have the money.
All right. Well, more details on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. I also have here Shema Camp PDP leaders Sean Atiku's Katsina rally. All right, and let's see what. I don't know if I can get this. I really hope I can. I really do hope I can, because it's not numbered properly. But the detail is on the Nation newspaper, just basically stating or reiterating the crisis or the challenges that the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party is still facing in party. All right, more details in
which paper?
The Nation.
Oh, all right.
Yes, the Nation newspaper. All right, and we also have here Senate confirms Onoche Ogumola, 11 others for NDDC board. All right, so finally, so I guess we have some sort of...
She has scaled through. You know the woman now?
Yes,
she was supposed
Loretta.
to be on the INEC board, but eventually she didn't scale through, so eventually she's in NDDC. I think she would prefer this one.
All right. Well, the Senate has confirmed the nomination of the Special Assistant to the President on New Media, as Loretta Onochi, for appointment as chairman of the board of the Niger Delta Development Commission. So the other names that were also approved, you can get all of the details on page 2. They also have a rider here that says National Assembly demands report of forensic audit. That's on the Nation newspaper, and that's all that we actually have from the Nation.
Forensic audit of what, Sandra?
Okay, let's see what we have. So what we have here is all right. They have agreed on the appointments, and then they're also looking into. Let's see. They discountenance the arrangement.
The NDDC.
That's still the NDDC. Okay. This following consists. Please come again.
Is it the forensic audit of the NDDC? Is that what you're saying?
It's a writer on that story, but I'm not.
Oh, okay. All right. We can move on then. I'm sure it's the NDDC. Yeah.
It's a writer to that story, but I'm sure it's.
That story is fine.
Yes, but there's no like explicit, or detail. On that particular one. Just says that the National Assembly is demanding a forensic audit. Yes, from this particular story.
It's fine. All right.
All right, so that's it from the Nation newspaper. All right, let's keep moving now. Move on to the Punch newspaper. And the major headline from the Punch is cash limits. Reps order CBN to stay action. Banks adamant. All right, and the riders that we have to that. Lawmakers insist Emefiele must appear Thursday or send a deputy. So for the second time, the CBN governor did not appear before the National Assembly. He was supposed to appear before them last week Thursday. He said he was out of the country, and then they moved it to Tuesday. That was yesterday, and then he said he's still out of the country, and now they moved it to Thursday, and they're now saying that it's either he appears or he sends a deputy.
He has deputies. Yeah, there are different deputy governors holding different positions in the CBN.
So if he is not able to come, then someone, send in someone else. Yeah. All right, we have another rider. We have House Defense order to suspend policy, cites CBN Act and Constitution. Okay, banks ready for implementation. No counter directive, says spokespersons. So what we have is that there's a lot at this point. It's important for public holders to know that they're summoning the CBN governor or any member, or due to the collective outcry of Nigerian people to come and explain some of the policies, because Nigerian people needs explanation. So they are saying we are not against any policy, and we're not out to disrespect anyone, but the point is we have questions, we have concerns as regards these policies, so come forward and let's hear you speak. Okay, that's what they are saying. So that's why they are inviting him. So they're saying that it's important for the CBN governor to know that they will also not be tolerating any further excuses in terms of non-appearance before the House to explain to the Nigerian people some of these policy. And they also,
he has to appear. He should appear.
So he has to appear, or at least, why not send a deputy? He has like 6-7 deputies or so. So he can always say each holding one area of
position.
Yes.
The CBN there.
Okay, and they're saying that yes, and the House is also saying that the resolution to suspend the policy is still in force, whether Emefiele appeared or not.
So that means so you see the problem again. So if the installation does not really matter to them, they already have a mind that that thing must not go on.
Because they're saying they said it that
that's what I'm saying. So why do we have to appear there?
Because it's a counter. The issue of him coming was just to fulfill all righteousness in compliance with law. They have already passed a resolution asking him to suspend the implementation of that policy, and they are, the Senate is equally, concurring with the resolution that the House of Assembly has passed.
Maybe they didn't really know that my appearance is just a waste of time. They already have what they want to do.
Maybe that's why he's not appearing.
But he has to appear. You're part of the oversight function of the National Assembly. You just have to appear.
So, all right. So they're saying here. So whether he comes or not, we have passed the resolution asking him to suspend, and the Senate has concurred. So what we should be looking at is whether he will disregard the concurrent resolution of both chambers, the upper and the lower. I think we should work towards and reinforce that pending when he appears before us to brief the House. It's okay. So they're saying that the resolutions will stand. Let's see how this will turn out between the CBN and our lawmakers.
I don't know. Nothing. He's going to appear, probably said the deputy, but I think the Assembly members have made up their mind. Just like, they are the politicians. They know why they want cash. But Sandra, I must tell you, I never knew that Nigerians want cash this much. We still want to do the cash thing from the north to the south. I think everybody is, unanimous. I think everybody seems to agree with the fact that we still need this cash. We don't want to move on with cashless policy. The way the CBN wants to implement it. But I think it's fine. We'll deal with it. We'll see how it goes.
More details on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Very quickly now, we also have here INEC needs 100,000 vehicles and 4,200 boats for transporting election materials. Yes, for logistics, says the INEC chairman Mahmood Yakubu, and that is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. All right, moving on now, we also have siblings clash during father's burial. Soldiers kill guest. That's also on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. Okay, moving on now, we also have here governors, federal government agree on NIPS sale. That's still on the power project, the sale of power projects to fund budgets. Abuja disco sales through as government rejects buyers for 4 discos. That's on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. All right, moving on now very quickly. We also have Buhari transmits finance bill. NAS passes budget on Thursday. That story is on page 17 of the Punch newspaper. And what we have here is the president has transmitted the finance bill 2022 to the National Assembly as the federal parliament is billed to pass the 2022 appropriation bill by Thursday. All right, so that is on page 17 of the Punch newspaper. And finally, we also have here, we have bombing, civilians, soldiers deaths high, Zamfara governor laments. And that is on pages 4 and 5. This is quite an unfortunate one that we, the story that we got as regards that one. The governor of Zamfara State, Bello Matawale, has confirmed that scores of residents and soldiers were killed during an operation by the Nigerian Air Force in the state. So they were trying to take out terrorists. They were trying to take out terrorists, but unfortunately, there were a lot of collateral damage. No fewer than 68 residents lost their lives at Mutunji village in Maru local government area of Zamfara State after the Air Force launched airstrikes on a market while bombarding suspected hideouts of bandits in the state. It's very unfortunate because what we're getting is that the bandits were also said to have ambushed soldiers who wanted to provide ground support for the Air Force, killing 10 of them. So we lost 10 gallant men also. All right. Okay, so it's a very unfortunate one. You can get all of the details on pages 4 and 5. It's what we'll call collateral damage, but there's still a lot of questions that can be asked as regards that particular one. Yes, there are terrorists hiding out in a major place, but in a major place that's also densely populated by civilians. What could have been done better? Well, the details is on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch. And finally, we have Germany begins return of 1,130 looted Benin bronzes. Okay, and that is on page 7. Yes, we have been, receiving back that which is ours anyways for some months now, so for some years now. So it's a good one. Thank you. Now, finally, still on trends in the papers, we'll quickly rush through what we have trending on the front page of Vanguard newspaper. This is 98.3 Mainland FM, the sound of Lagos. And what we have as the major headline on the front page of the Vanguard is federal government bans cash withdrawals from public accounts. And there are riders to that. The rider says public officers to open domiciliary accounts in foreign and local currencies. Okay. Section 1 of Money Laundering Prohibition Act activated. NFIU developing advisory to SGF, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, state governors and local governments. Policy strengthens latest CBN cash withdrawal limit policy. Governors, local governments to organize training for market women and men on the use of ATM and POS services. That's coming from the NFIU. That's Financial Intelligence Unit. And then we also finally have denies plan to block federal accounts by January 1st, 2023. Okay, more details of that on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. Okay, moving on, we also have here Labour Party presidential campaign DG Okukwe resigns. And the writer to that, I didn't say his conviction is a witch hunt. And that's coming from the presidential candidate of the Labour Party himself, Peter Obi. You can get the details on page 29. We will be coming back to that. It's part of the focus for this morning. All right. We also have here vote against local government autonomy. The NULGE shuts down Ondo Assembly because there are allegations that the State House of Assembly in Ondo State wants to vote against local government autonomy. So the National Union of Local Government Employees are saying they are going to they're not going to vote. Yes, they're not going to vote in the 2023 general elections. It is a serious cause for concern. We'll be digging deep into that also on Mainland Focus, so stay with us. But more details on page 10 of Vanguard newspaper. We also have here, banks reduce new Naira notes per cash withdrawal. So yes, the story still going out is the fact that the banks still have limited amounts of the new Naira notes, hence the limitations on how much you can receive per withdrawal. Some banks, if you want to withdraw 30,000 Naira, they would be paying you out of that 30,000, just 3,000 Naira will be of the new notes. So that is what the report that we've been getting as regards, the new notes and this circulation of the new notes, the disbursement of the new notes. It's been quite a tedious one for a lot of people, but then the old notes are still in circulation till January 30th, 2023. But what we have is that banks have reduced the volume of new Naira notes that they dispense to customers per cash withdrawal by about 50%, which has led to increased anxiety over the January 31st deadline when the old notes will cease to be legal tender. A lot of people are worried if they're going to be having enough cash on their hands by the time that the old notes will no longer be legal, which is a serious cause for concern at this point. So investigations have revealed that some banks now give their customers 4,000 Naira if you want to withdraw 100,000, they'll give you 4,000 Naira in the redesigned 1,000 Naira note, and while some give you 5,000 Naira in the redesigned note per 200,000 withdrawal. All right, if it's something that's going to be looked into, or if it's actually good for the polity, we'll see. More details on page 19 of Vanguard newspaper. We also have here, Yuletide, transport fares skyrocket. And the rider to that, aviation fuel scarcity hits airlines, flight cancellation delays imminent, says Airline Operators of Nigeria. And also intrastate road transport fares up by 100%. I'm still looking at the people that are actually going to be traveling. Are people still going to be traveling? Yes, a lot of people are going to be traveling. I know a lot of people that have already traveled, but all we have is that there is 100% increase in the fare hike as it is now for most routes. For instance, airfares from Lagos to any part in the eastern part of the country have risen from 65,000 a week or some weeks ago to between 120 and 130,000. While land fares hover between 20,000 and 25,000. Oh, this is actually very actually cause for concern if you look at it that way. But what we have is that most airlines are fully booked for the season. Some people having it serious. You have the money to pay, but there's no seat for you to get. And then investigation also revealed that some parts of the north also have some issues with airfares. All right, so the AON is also saying brace up for flight cancellations and delays, says the airline operators, because due to scarcity in Jet A1, that's aviation fuel. Meanwhile, commuters flying intrastate are lamenting the high transport fares this Yuletide. That is another cause for concern for a lot of travelers this season. Finally, bullion van politicians responsible for CBN governor's travails, says Atiku Okowa campaign, and that is on page 30 of Vanguard. That's all we can take for trends in the papers this morning. Stay with us. We will be back by 8:40 as we dig deep into two focal points this morning. I already introduced them, but when we come back, we'll put some flesh into it, open up the phone line, and you get to be a part of the conversation. This is 98.3 Milan FM, the sound of Lagos.